Hello friends, welcome back to NRI Samai. As always, we bring in untold stories, unheard voices and unsung heroes. Along with that, issues and matters that concern the citizens of our country and also the NRI community. And this week is no exception. A few months back, we did a wonderful show with one of the leads from Immigration Voice, Ramesh Kotamurthy garu, and he has explained in depth of what Barack Obama's new policies unveiled as far as the new immigration policies are concerned. So we wanted to expand on the topic because the H4-EAD is right now almost in place, and by fag end of May it comes into existence. So just to give a background of Ramesh garu, Ramesh Kotamurthy garu, he's been in Los Angeles area for the past 14 years, just moved recently to Atlanta, and he's been working as senior project manager in Fortune 500 company, and has been leading voice and advocacy and grassroots campaign for immigration reforms for high-skilled immigrants for several years. And he had led campaigns as part of the Immigration Voice and advocacy group for immigration reform for high-skilled professionals. He also led advocacy events for reduction of green card backlogs and very familiar with intricacies of American lawmaking process, and closely worked and involved himself in the comprehensive immigration reforms legislation. A true believer of grassroots movement, and we have Ramesh Kotamurthy garu online right now to answer all our questions further down on this H4 topic. Ramesh garu, thank you so much for joining, sir. Quick call, but I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir, you predicted and also you mentioned in the earlier few months back when we did this call and also this show, you mentioned clearly that H4-EAD will become a reality, and a lot of people were asking questions, is this true? You know, and I was sending this this show to multiple people, telling them that that's how Ramesh garu feels about this whole process, and it truly became a reality right now. So let's expand on this topic, sir. So what do you think about this H4-EAD, and what is yet to come that benefits the community, sir?
I think this is one of the long pending demands from the immigrant community, and this is a fantastic decision that DHS has taken as part of the administrative reforms for high-skilled immigrants. And like everybody knows, this is going into effect on 26th May, and then from then on, people can apply. The spouses of people on H1 visa or H1 visa with approved I-140 application, they should be able to apply for EAD. EAD meaning Employment Authorization Document.
Right.
So they should be able to do that from 26th of May. And it will take about 90 days for DHS to process these applications.
Wonderful. Sir, Barack Obama also mentioned multiple things. Of course, it was all about, legalizing the illegal immigrants and other things. But he touched upon topics, especially this H4 dependent EADs. And also he has talked about other entities also that might matter to the Indian community. Is anything else that you see would become a reality, like I-140 is becoming current or something like that? There is a lot of curiosity that is there more to come as far as benefiting the NRI community is concerned. What do you think, sir?
In fact, this H4-EAD has come much before the reforms, the so-called bulk set of reforms that were announced in October-November timeframe. This was done in July of 2014. That's when they announced that EAD will be given to H4, and then, of course, the rules came in a little later, and now we have clarity on what it is. In terms of what more to expect, there are a number of things that Barack Obama's administrative fixes they have announced. Quite a few of them are in works, and then they'll soon publish. DHS will start publishing. Of course, DHS has been in the budgetary fight that is going on right now. They got caught into it. But many provisions which are not dependent on appropriations from the government, they'll keep moving on those. Right now, the DHS is dependent on budget for certain things, and those things, I think, they are put on hold because of the budgetary fight that is going on in DC years.
Right. Sir, one of the questions that a lot of people ask is, you've already mentioned there's a difference between executive order and executive action, right? Executive order takes a huge precedence, and it's spot on, right? But executive action again goes to the Congress, and it might not sometimes work the way as we imagine. Do you at any point
Congress doesn't take? Sorry to interrupt, Srikant.
Yeah.
Executive action is by the executive branch of the government. What Congress does is legislative action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, by any means, is there a chance that this H4-EAD, someone can override this and then say that no, we're not going to go with this H4-EAD? Is that possible? That's a question that a lot of people ask.
I don't know if that is possible or not, but yes, I wouldn't rule out that it's not possible. If there is a bill that is brought on floor of the House which says which should not be done, then probably it will be repealed if that's the case. But in all humility, I should say that no, this is probably not going to happen. I don't think anybody really bothers about such small changes. This is if you see, this is a very, very minor change, and it's an administrative fix. We are calling it a fix, but it's just an adjustment in the way they interpret the law. The primary reason why I'm saying this is all we are doing is it's a band-aid. We are not solving the major problem. We are not solving the underlying problem. The underlying problem of all these issues is that we have country caps, quota for every country. There are only a certain number of visas allocated for each country. But people coming from on tech visas and H-1B visas, they're not restricted by country. There is no country cap in people who are coming in. So there is a undue demand for green cards for certain countries because there are a lot of technical talent coming from those countries. So that's a basic problem there. And all these band-aids that we're putting on, for example, right now, H-1B immigrants, spouses, H-4, anybody coming on H-4 visa, and who are in the process of green card, they are being given EADs. The original intent when the laws were written was that the H-1B professionals, they should be able to get a green card in probably a year or less, and that still holds true if you are from a country which is not hitting the country caps. Probably if you're coming from a country where there are very few professionals coming in, you'll probably hit that. I mean, within 1.5 years, you should be able to have a green card. But unfortunately, for certain high-demand countries, this is taking decades. And
right.
The fixes that they're trying to do is to address. It's just a band-aid. These are all temporary, reliefs that they're trying to provide.
Right. So the other question that people ask is, with all this overhaul of so many other things that they're bringing into picture, and also adding new H4, does that expedite this I-140s becoming current, or does it slow down this process? There is a sense of fear that there might be a new edition called H4-EAD, and that might impact the way I-140s will eventually get their, will become current or whatever it is. So, does this addition of H4-EAD has any impact on the existing setup or the ecosystem that's already there as far as EB2, EB3, or EB1 filings are concerned?
I don't think it should have anything. The numbers, if you look at it, it's pretty small numbers compared to the total pool, compared to the total number of green cards that are issued and the total number of paperwork, EADs that are processed by DHS. Is probably maybe less than 10% of the volume. For the first time when they open it up, they are expecting about 180,000 applicants, and then after that, about 55,000 applicants every year subsequently.
Okay.
So it's not a big volume. It's not a big volume, and in terms of affecting the speeds, these are all paid by all these additional work is actually paid for by the fees that is going to be that's going to be the filing fees is going to contribute. If at all DHS has to expand their processing capacity, the filing fees will be able to satisfy that. So if there are temporary people being hired to process this, the fees for that will pay for it.
So, all right. So thanks for that clarification, sir. So I'll jump into these questions. We have got multiple questions from Nivedita, Archana, and many other folks. I just compiled it in one piece. If there is any duplicates in the questions, please forgive me, and also you can say just pass, because we already did that, or you can say duplicate. But I'll go through these questions. We'll take one at a time, sir.
Sure.
First one, is there any prerequisite that H-1B spouses who apply for the EAD, H4-EAD, should have been in H4 status for a certain amount of time?
No. There is no such mention anywhere at this point of time.
Perfect. Second question. Currently, I am on H-1B until July 2014. Okay. I was on H-4. So can I switch back again into H-4 in April 2015 or early May and apply for the EAD? That means he's on H-1B and he wants to switch to H-4 and then apply for EAD to take the benefit of that H4-EAD. I think so.
I'm not sure why they want to switch, but
because do any kind of job. Maybe he wants to go to some journalism job, right? Could be a possibility.
Okay, okay. Because the job that they want to take is probably not qualifying for H1. Okay, no, I understand. I guess the answer is yeah, that should be feasible because there is no restriction on switching from H1 to H4 or vice versa. There's no restriction on that. And then of course now that somebody is on H4, if they qualify for the rest of the stuff, like for example they have approved I-140 application, or if they are in the 7th year or 8th year extension of H1, then they should be able to qualify for this.
All right, perfect. So the third question is, once the EAD is approved, when traveling to, when I say EAD, make it as H4-EAD, sir, because this is H4. Mm-hmm. So once the H4-EAD is approved, while traveling to India, do we need to go through a stamping process?
EAD is independent of travel visa. Even if you have filed for adjustment of status, application AOS, application I-485, generally they would provide something called as advance parole. So I'm assuming that travel will be on advance parole, or if they have a valid H1 visa, that's going to be a travel visa. So EAD is independent of travel visa, and this has got nothing to do with travel visa. You still have to probably go through the same process that you would have gone through otherwise.
Wonderful. Now, the question is, the H4-EAD has a 55,000 cap every year from starting 2016. Can it be up?
No, there's no cap. That's misinformation. All they're saying is the expected volume is about 55,000 every year. It doesn't mean that there's a cap or anything.
So the subsequent question that she asked is, can it be applied any time in the year, or is it the first working day of April as it is for H1B? So this is not a cap at all, as you say, so it doesn't make any sense.
It's not a cap.
Yeah, perfect. Now, the fifth question is that I'm currently on H1, which is valid until 2017, and my spouse is on H4. I have my I-140 approved. The priority date is June 2014. So it's been a long wait, and I anticipate more wait. With this new H4-EAD rule, my spouse can apply for EAD as I have approved I-140. If I change my employer, my current I-140 becomes invalid, right? What happens to my spouse H4-EAD status?
It doesn't change. And when you change employer after I-140 is approved, your current type of 140 doesn't become invalid. All that happens is you probably have to reapply from your new employer, but it doesn't mean that it is invalid with the original employer. So the EAD doesn't change, and EAD will probably remain valid.
Wonderful. So there's another question by a listener. I recently did a change of status from H4 to F1 and got my approval only this Jan end 2015. Now that new work authorization rule has come, if I have to file for H4-EAD, can I submit change of status again back to H4 and H4 at the same time? How long and how successful will such an application be for me to actually start working?
I don't know if they would really want to make that switch, because F1 has its own advantages and disadvantages, of course. And at the end of F1 visa, you can apply for, for the again a EAD, which is for OPT. It's called practical training. So they can apply for that, and that remains valid for 27 months or something. But having said that, EAD in effect does not. I'm not sure if it provides any specific advantage in this specific situation or not. So I would say that this is a very specific case. You probably want to consult your lawyer, your attorney, before you make any switches, because both will have their own advantages and disadvantages. And your specific case might be, I'm not sure what are the other details. So I wouldn't necessarily want to comment on that, but please do consult, a qualified attorney before you make any of these decisions to change.
Wonderful. The other question is, I'm on Canadian on TN1. My wife is on H1B, Indian citizen, and her employer has filed I-140. Since I'm on TN1 and can't apply for GC, can I change to H4-EAD and then ask my employer to start GC?
No. I think there are specific provisions that TN visa and also for V visa they cannot change, and even for K visa they cannot change into these statuses. But I'm not sure on this, so I would probably have to do some research before I get back on this. But my initial understanding from what I read is that they will not be able to change it.
All right. Next question is, can a person travel outside of U.S. when the EAD filing is in process? That means the 90-day process. Is it a myth that if a person is traveling while EADs or any transfers or even filing is in process, if they travel outside the country, their documentation will be rejected? How true is this?
It is true only when I-485, which is the adjustment of status, if it is under process, and if you're traveling and you don't have a advance parole and you don't have a valid travel visa, only in those cases, if all these things are true, then in that case, you're actually violating some of the provisions. But otherwise, because H1B is a dual entrant visa, if you have a travel visa, you're free to you're free to travel to any country. And like I said earlier, EAD is independent of your travel visa status. So when you are waiting for EAD, when your application is being processed, if you are traveling, that's fine. That shouldn't affect your EAD in any way.
Right. The next question is, H4 visa holders from any professional background can file for an EAD if they meet some provisions. I suppose even for my husband who needs to have I-140 approved. Is that correct or wrong?
That is true. This is irrespective of what is the profession. EAD in general can be applied by anybody who qualifies, who, if the spouse is on H1 visa and spouse has an approved I-140, or spouse qualifies for the AC 21 provisions, 106 and A and 106B. Those are the sections under which they qualify. If that is true, then the spouse can apply for EAD irrespective of their qualifications, irrespective of what they want to do with that EAD. Whether they want to work, they don't want to work. Excuse me. That is totally up to them, and it need not be technical work. It can be pretty much any kind of work, and they qualify for EAD. If they want to apply for it, they can apply for it.
All right. Next question is there a way to know if I-140 is revoked by previous company? I moved to a new company and I-140 is not processed in my new company, so I have to rely on my old I-140.
That I think you will have to have to check with the company, or if they are not willing to part with that answer, then your option is to go for Freedom of Information Act. You have to file for Freedom of Information Act, and there are certain timelines and certain SLAs for that. I think it takes about 90 days to 120 days to find out information on that. So that's probably the last resort you would want to go for. But if the employer is not willing to part with that information, then you probably have to go to Freedom of Information Act.
Got it. And to qualify for this H4-EAD, or H-1B spouse must either have an approved I-140, have extended H-1B status beyond 6 years based on a perm labor certification, or I-140 pending for at least 365 days.
Right.
So note that if the I-140 was approved but then withdrawn by the employer, the H4 spouse may still qualify if the H-1B worker has been approved for an extension of status beyond 6 years. Can you substantiate this fact?
Yes. See, the only thing that they are asking as evidence is that at some point you had a valid I-140 petition and it was approved. What is the current status of the petition? I don't think anybody really cares. So if it was withdrawn, I don't know if it really matters, but at this point of time, all it matters is if you are applying for EAD for your spouse, you should have a current, valid H1 status. The principal should have current H1 valid status, and they should have a copy of the I-140, approved by I-140, and that's pretty much it. And of course, the marriage certificate or evidence that there's a proof of relationship between the principal applicant and the H4 person. So marriage certificate or something of that sort. But apart from that, they're not asking, if the I-140 was withdrawn, or anything like that at this point of time. There is no mention of it anywhere. So I'm thinking that it would still be a valid application.
Got it. The other question, I think this is from Archana Sudamala from Los Angeles, is EAD applicable for medical professionals as well?
EAD is applicable for any, for doing any jobs. I'm not sure if there is a special requirement for a medical job as such. When I say medical job, I'm not sure what we are, indicating here, but many things qualify as medical jobs. But if you're hinting that you want to be a doctor and if this EAD will be helpful, I'm not sure. There might be specific restrictions on certain degrees that are, that need to be validated and things like that. So I'm not sure if I don't know how to answer this question, but I think I need more details to answer this question.
Got it. If a person marries at I-140 stage, can they adjust the status and the spouse can apply for EAD? How long is the process duration? I think process duration we already know, but his question is, if any person marries at I-140 stage, can they adjust the status and the spouse can apply for EAD?
Yeah, if they qualify, yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, if they fall into this category of having an approved I-140 and then spouse comes on H4, absolutely, they will qualify.
Yep. If your passport is stamped with H4 visa and your EAD as per the new rule, does a spouse need to apply for an advance parole or travel on the existing H4 visa?
They can travel on existing H4 visa. Like I said earlier, EAD and travel are two different things. They're not linked in any way. EAD is only for employment authorization. It's only for employment, whereas your travel visa or advance parole is for traveling.
Right. And we have a question from Mullapudi Vasu that just came in. Is the EAD status contingent upon H1 status? Should it be reapplied if the H1 is transferred or cancelled? For example, H1 holder moved to a different company or moved to a different country. Will the spouse H4 EAD will be revoked?
Spouse H4 EAD is directly related to the H4 petition. So when the principal loses status or when principal changes status, H4 EAD also, it will get affected.
Got it. Vasu's second question. On a side note, Ramesh garu, any new information from the executive order or predictions on priority dates for everyone in general and applicants with master's degree, US in particular?
I don't want to get into the prediction game because there is no way. If you can predict that, you could probably predict stock market. Predicting on visas is like, predicting what God is going to do next. I don't want to get in there. But the executive order as such, all the provisions of the executive order, they seem to be on track at this point of time. What can we expect right next to this? What is the immediate benefit? I don't know. I don't have a clue of what would be the next action that we should expect. But certainly, a lot of things are from the legislation point. A lot of these provisions are there in many of the legislations on the floor of the Congress. So I would urge your audience to actually push for these bills being brought to the actual floor of the House and actually voted upon and converted into a law. Maybe that's
they do that
option then.
If they want to join this effort, like the way you do. You advocate for all of these, and then you also I know that you've traveled to Washington D.C. for all of these convocations or consultations. So how can you advise to the listeners as well?
Yeah, I would advise the listeners to actually call your congressman or senator and look for the bills. The bill information is available on many websites, including Immigration Voice's website. Look at those provisions and call your congressman and say that please support this bill. If you want high-skilled immigrants to contribute to the economy of this country, this is what they would need to do, and it's very helpful for many of the families. And when you say that, when you call the congressman's office, tell them specifically that you're a constituent, and then you would want the congressman to support this bill because it affects you and your family. And the more number of such calls go to congressmen, there is a person in every congressman's office who takes note of this information, and then they pass on the information. And then based on the feedback that they are getting from ground up, a lot of lawmakers actually make a decision on whether to vote for it or against it.
Got it.
So every counts, every phone call counts. So I would encourage all the audience to actually do that. All it takes is probably one phone call. Emails usually, are not that effective, but even emails also might be sometimes effective. And if you can actually visit congressman's office, make an appointment, so that you want to specifically talk about immigration and you want to talk about these bills, that would be the most effective if you can do that. It would probably take about a couple of hours of your time to actually go and meet somebody in Congressman's office. You can make an appointment by phone, and then actually go there and present them that this is what you're going through, because these bills are there on the floor of the House, and you would want support from the Congressman for these bills.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. And sir, one of the questions that is coming through right now is, does applying for EAD cancels H4 visa?
Does applying for? No, it doesn't.
All
because, right. Because they qualify for H4. That's the reason they're getting an EAD. No, it doesn't cancel H4 visa.
Maybe the question that they wanted to ask is like, let's imagine an I-140 guy gets an EAD. Does it nullify the H4 EAD that the spouse is on? I think that's the question. I'm really doubtful of this. But let's imagine you are on I-140, it becomes current, and your spouse becomes eligible for, I think in the procedure-wise you can get an EAD. And does that nullify your existing H4 EAD or something like that?
H4 EAD is no different from an EAD you would get once you are in adjustment of status.
Okay.
I think we should understand the philosophy behind why DH is doing this. Because it takes in normal process, if everything was good and you did not have country limits, country caps, the primary beneficiary would have received EAD or green card within 1.5 years. Since that is not happening, they're providing a temporary because the primary beneficiary is waiting in line for the country for the visa to be available. They're waiting after I-140 approval. They're probably waiting for 5, 6, 7, or 8 years, waiting for the visa number to become current. So during that period, in a normal process, they would have been, spouse would have been eligible to work if they got a green card. So all they're trying to do is making sure that you're not losing that benefit just because you're coming from a country which has got a very high demand for visas. So that's the philosophy behind this change.
Right. Now, can one apply EAD for children? That's the other question. Thanks for your earlier explanation, sir. I just missed the point on that. But can one apply for EAD for children? Let's imagine a H1 person who's got I-140 approved, is traveling, and he has an elderly kid. Can someone apply EAD for children, or whatever conditions? Is that possible?
No. It clearly states that it's only for spouse.
Got it.
And spouse is somebody who's adult, right? I mean, who's not a minor, obviously. It's not applicable for. I know some people. There were comments when this rule was published that kids, 15 and over, will not be able to take advantage of this because they might be able to. If they had a EAD, they would be able to do some, jobs and earn some little money for their pocket money or something. There were suggestions on DHS website like that, but DHS has ruled out that no, this is strictly only meant for spouse of primary applicant.
Got it. So, any word on tax implications of being on EAD?
Tax implications, there are no.
For EAD, yeah.
No, there are no tax implications specifically for EAD. Of course, if you get EAD and if you start working, that would imply there are some tax obligations. But I don't understand what this question is really meant for. What kind of tax implications? I did not get the question.
Yeah, but as such, if they earn and then it's the tax obligations will kick in, obviously, because the spouse is also earning, and it becomes a part of the yearly tax filing process. So I don't think there could be anything additional.
I don't know if the question is any relevant to this.
Yep. All right. So one last question that we have got is: can one start a company when on EAD? Can they become self-employed? Can they start a website and do online, create an online store and earn money? How does it work? Can one start a company being on EAD, H4 EAD?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Perfect. So Ramesh, thank you so much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it. And time and again, we keep reaching out to you as and when we find such interesting topics that matter to the NRI community, especially on the immigration side of it. Been doing phenomenal work on that. And thank you for your time once again, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Bye.